A regular viewer recently asked, how do you find cheap rolling stock? My answer was train shows, eBay mixed lots, Perseverance, and some just dumb luck. Let's see how this strategy worked on a recent eBay purchase on this episode of Toy Train Tips and Tricks. Hello again, this is Mike with another episode of Toy Train Tips and Tricks. And here we have a recent eBay purchase, well actually 4 eBay purchases on a single day, that demonstrates how I find budget-priced train bargains. In this case, 13 different Lionel and K-Line boxcars and a Lionel stock car. My favorite source of bargains is local train shows, especially because you don't have to worry about shipping costs. But on the other hand, after show admission and the usual hot dog and Diet Coke from the concession stand, I guess it's a wash compared with most shipping costs. But shows don't happen every weekend, so online sources like Facebook Marketplace, Trains.com, and of course eBay fill the void. Sometimes I will be searching for a specific item, but most of the time when I browse online, I'm just looking for bargains. I have a few saved searches that help alert me to when things may be flying under the radar. Among these are simply Lionel Trains, but with a price limit of $20 and under. Others include Lionel Assorted, Lionel Estate, and Lionel Junk. Most of the time, I will scan the listings and find nothing of interest. Oh look, another 6464 NYC gondola, yippee! But some days it seems that bargains are everywhere, and I recently had one of those days. Not only did I find the bargains that you're about to see, but if I had been willing to spend more, I could have doubled or even tripled this bargain haul. I can divide my haul into 3 categories. First, there are general freight cars, items that will fit into any typical train on any typical day. The second category is Christmas cars. While I have made my own DIY cars for my Christmas display in previous years, I was also looking to add some factory-made cars to the layout, and I found some sharp-looking examples, and the price was certainly great. The third category is what I will call commemorative cars. These are cars that were created for special events or promotions. So, first the everyday cars. In chronological order, we start with a post-war car, a number 6 3464 New York Central operating boxcar. Note that the catalog number is here and not here. I like these short boxcars and especially the operating versions. This one is relatively clean and the mechanism works well. Also, this one has steps at all 4 corners, which are often found broken. And early versions of this car had no steps. They were added to most 1952 versions as Lionel was trying to use up leftover frames before they switched to the longer 6464 style boxcars in 1953. I didn't own an example of this variation, so score! Next, we move into the MPC era with the number 9707 Katy stock car. These were produced between 1972 and 1975. An interesting version of this common car is that some have the build date of 172 printed on the left side and others on the right. The variation makes no difference in the value of this common car. For me, this car was a toss-in bonus. I already have an identical car, and stock cars really aren't my thing. Still, the price was right, and there were other cars in the lot that I really wanted. Next is the number 9708 US mailbox car. Also produced from 1972 to 1975, these appeared in sets like the Spirit of America and the Golden Arrow, and they were also sold separately. They're not as common as the Katy car, but they are far from rare. This one has an MPC logo, while some were produced without it. The distribution of logo versus non-logo is about even, so there's no difference in value between the 2 variations. This car will be a nice companion to my operating version of the US mail car, so it's another good pickup for me. Next up is the number 9767 Rail Box from 1976 and 77. This car has been on my want list for some time. I recently picked up the K-Line operating version, so this car will make a nice companion for it. Other than a special version with convention graphics, there are no major variations of this car, and they are all about as common as the 9708 mail car. After Lionel ran out of numbers in the 9700 series of boxcars, they moved into the 9400 series. And here is a number 9412 Richmond, Fredericksburg, and Potomac car from 1979. This is another car that I've wanted for some time, so another score. Like the Railbox car, there is a variation of the car with TCA graphics, but regular cars like this one are not really rare. And rounding out these everyday cars, we move into the LTI production era with the number 19209 Florida East Coast boxcar from 1988. I had not really been searching for this car, but it makes a nice addition to my fleet nevertheless. There are no major variations, and it is relatively common like the RF&P car. Next, we have the Christmas cars. First up is the Lionel number 19908 Season's Greeting car from 1989. Christmas cars like these were not in the regular consumer catalog. Instead, they were given to Lionel employees and were also provided to dealers as promotional items. As collectibles, these are more valuable if they have their original boxes, which this one doesn't, and also if you have a complete set of cars in a particular series. This one will make a nice addition to my annual Christmas layout. Here is the Lionel number 19918 Season's Greetings car from 1992. Like the 1989 car, these were uncatalogued and were given to employees and dealers. This particular car is one of the more difficult to find, not rare, but harder to find, so it's another nice score for the Christmas layout. Next up is the first of three K-Line cars. Here's the number 90004 K-Line Collectors Club Season's Greetings car from 1993. This car shared features with K-Line's classic boxcar series, having sprung metal trucks and metal couplers. These cars were only available to members of the K-Line Collectors Club, which you might think might make them very valuable and collectible. However, there were thousands of members of the KCC, so this car is no more difficult to find than most other K-Line classics from the time. Still, a very nice car that I'm counting as a score. The next two cars may be the most valuable among my entire lot. These two Christmas cars are double collectible, as they are special edition Coca-Cola products as well as Christmas. These cars, the K641-5101 from 1996 and the K641-5104 from 1997, were available to the public, but they were produced in very limited quantities. The graphics are sharp, but oddly, they feature standard K-Line plastic trucks and couplers. It's difficult to determine a value for these cars, as I found only 2 previous sales of the 1996 car online, and only 1 sale of the 1997 car. I have to assume that the combination of train collectors and Coke collectors make these cars worth much more than what I paid. Double score. And finally, 3 special occasion or commemorative Lionel cars. First is this number 7506 boxcar. It was one of 3 boxcars that was made for the Lionel 75th Anniversary Special in 1975. The set also included 3 reefers and a hopper, plus the U36B and porthole caboose. While this car was made in somewhat limited quantities, having only 1 car from the set reduces its collector value considerably. Plus, we are now more focused on Lionel's 125th anniversary next year, so a 50-year-old set seems a little less significant. It can be assumed that the 75th anniversary set was not as popular as Lionel imagined it would be, as it was still featured in the consumer catalog in 1977. Still, the car has nice graphics and an interesting history, so I'm happy with the purchase. Next, we have the number 7803 Trains and Truckin' boxcar from 1977. This was an uncatalogued car that was provided to dealers to use as a promotional item for the Trains and Truckin' series of starter sets that were new in 1977. The sets featured a great deal of play value with not only scale semi-trucks, but cranes, cardboard warehouses, plastic bricks, pallets, barrels, and other construction items to transfer between the trains and the trucks. Lionel even made a TV commercial starring none other than Johnny Cash to promote the sets.
And here they are in Lionel's brand new Trains and Truckin' sets for your kids.
The neat and uncommon boxcar is a tangible connection to those special trains and their time period. I didn't know anything about this final car until after my purchase arrived. It looks like a typical 9400 series boxcar with generic Lionel markings, but the number 9492 Lionel boxcar from 1986 includes a special message, a new tradition. In late 1986, Lionel Trains was purchased by businessman and avid Lionel collector Richard Kuhn, and a new company, Lionel Trains Incorporated, or LTI, was born. This boxcar was provided to dealers as a promotional item to create optimism that the new company would be respectful of Lionel Trains traditions, as displayed in the return of the orange and blue colors and the Circle L logo, and simultaneously look to create a new tradition of innovative products. Therefore, boxcar number 9492 simultaneously marks the end of Lionel's MPC era and the beginning of the LTI era. The car is somewhat difficult to find, but as few collectors know or appreciate the history of the car, it's somewhat less valuable than it might otherwise be. Speaking of value, after calculating the purchase price, shipping, taxes, and other miscellaneous expenses, what would you say is a good average value for these 14 cars? As the TV commercials used to say, how much would you pay? Would you say $15 each? $12? $10? $7? Well, my final average price came to $6.18 per car. Honestly, the trucks and couplers are worth more than that. Did I get a few things I wasn't looking for? Yes, but I also got some pretty nice items that work for my operations and also for my collection of oddities, and I got them for cheaper than I would have if I bought them individually. My strategy of looking for mixed or assorted lots paid off, but it doesn't work every day. But with persistence and, yes, a little dumb luck, bargains like these can be found on eBay, even with today's crazy shipping prices. So I hope this inspires you to go hunting and see what bargains you might be able to find. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it, and if so, like, subscribe, share, leave a comment about your greatest bargain find. And once you find them, keep the trains running, and we'll catch you next time with more toy train tips and tricks.